This October, celebrate Banned Books Week and the freedom to read with us all month long. Pick up QPL's new special edition library card, collect our 10 Freedom to Read artwork stickers, check out banned and challenged books, join us for our special programs, and so much more. Visit queenslibrary.org to learn more. Our Hispanic Heritage Month celebrations continue at the library. Explore our virtual and in-person programs, discover our special Hispanic Heritage book lists for all ages, and grab a copy of our Hispanic Heritage brochure from your local library. Visit queenslib.org/blog to learn more. Halloween is coming soon. It's time to make some spooky crafts, watch scary movies, hear ghost stories, and wear your favorite costume. And you can do all of that and more at the library. Visit the QPL calendar on our website to learn about all of our Halloween programs.
Welcome to Who Makes New York City Run. The League of Women Voters of the City of New York is a nonpartisan organization, and our purpose is to promote informed and active citizen participation in government. Our mission is to expand our outreach and increase all New Yorkers' participation in local communities and government through civics education, the vote, and issues advocacy. This presentation is based on a book written by Adrienne Kivelson, who is a League of Women Voters member and a New York City Charters expert. As we go through this presentation, if you have any questions, please just put them into the chat and we'll get to the questions when toward the end of the presentation. When we vote in local elections, we have the greatest impact. Our voices are heard loudly because locally, our elected officials are also our neighbors, and concerns about things like libraries, police, traffic, urban development, green space, certain aspects of education and housing and recreation and quality of life issues really give us the opportunity to reach out to our local elected officials, our city council, our borough president, the mayor, the public advocate, the comptroller, and we can express our opinions to them. So when you are thinking through this presentation, think about your concerns here in New York City. Think about your concerns in your community. And then as you study the different candidates, think about where do they stand on the issues that you care about the most. Your voice is heard much louder on these local issues because your city council person is your neighbor and has to live in your district. So let's take a closer look at New York City so that we can amplify our voices right here and participate locally in what's happening in our city. So first of all, who has the power? New Yorkers get to vote for the mayor, the public advocate, and the comptroller. During the same election cycle, we get to vote in our boroughs, and we get to elect our borough president and our city council member. If you take a look at what's the link, Who Represents Me, that will show you who represents you right now. And that site is mygovnyc.org. So mygovnyc.org. And that will give you information about who represents you right now. The term for all of these elected officials is 4 years. Because of term limits, they may only serve 2 consecutive terms. During redistricting years, the council serves a 2-year term, and then they can run again for another 2 years after the new lines of redistricting are drawn. And the city charter describes all of the roles and responsibilities of these elected officials. So let's take a look at that now. First of all, if you think of New York City as 2 big umbrellas, the first big umbrella are our citywide elected officials. And these citywide electeds are responsible for the overall governance of the entire city. The mayor is like the chief executive of the city. The comptroller is responsible for all the city's finances, and the public advocate literally advocates for the public, magnifying the voices of the people. If you want to look at more information and be able to interact with these people, you can go to New York 311, and the website is right there for you to take a look at. So let's look at each of these roles and see what the responsibilities are for each of these roles. Starting with the mayor. If you think about the role of the mayor, think about these key terms. So the mayor appoints the head of most agencies in the city. The mayor approves city council bills and legislation. The mayor proposes the budget to the city council, develops a strategic plan, a long-term strategic plan for the city. The mayor can also create new agencies, and the mayor must report to the city council. So when you think about all of these responsibilities, the mayor has this overarching role of the chief executive. If you want to find out what the mayor is up to at any particular time, you can go to their website, nyc.gov/mayor, and find out what they're up to. The next role is the comptroller. And the comptroller is the money person. The comptroller, again, if you think about key words to understand the role of the comptroller submits advice to the mayor and the city council regarding fiscal policy. They audit all matters related to finances in the city. They investigate anything related to finances in the city. They have to certify all expenditures. Every penny that comes in and goes out of the city goes through the comptroller's office. They report to the mayor and the city council, and they monitor the expenditures that are being made. They have a fabulous website called checkbooknyc.com, which you got to love the name of it. And it literally is the New York City's checkbook. And you could look at it and see what money is being spent, who the money is being paid to, what are the revenues coming in. And you could follow what's happening in New York City financially at the comptroller's website, checkbooknyc.com. The next citywide role is the public advocate. And when you think of the public advocate, they really are the eyes and ears of the city. They are there to advocate for us, for the people of New York. Most importantly, they are first in line of succession to the mayor. So if the mayor, for whatever reason, cannot complete their term, the public advocate becomes the acting mayor of New York City. They also monitor public information, what is being sent out to us, to the residents of New York City. They investigate complaints that New York City residents might have. They can introduce legislation. They report to the city council, and they chair the Commission on Public Information and Communication, which makes sense because they're really in charge of monitoring what information is going out to the public. They can also recommend appointments to the mayor for any positions that might be open. Again, they have a website, so you can go to their website and you could find it and look at what they're up to at any given time. So the idea is that all of us as residents of New York City can follow what these elected officials are doing. We know what their role is supposed to be. Are they doing that work? And when we get ready to vote, as we're going to be doing soon, think about, can this person do this job, whatever this job might be? So we have the citywide elected officials, the mayor, the comptroller, and the public advocate. And then we have our borough-wide. And our borough-wide elected officials are our borough presidents. Each borough has a president. Our city council, which is our legislative branch. And we also have district attorneys, which we also elect. If you look at the map in front of you, you could see that each borough has a certain number of council members depending on population. So Manhattan has 10 council members, the Bronx has 8, Queens has 14, Brooklyn has the most at 16, and Staten Island has 3 council members. But we all have a borough president and we all have a district attorney. So let's take a closer look at each of their jobs. So starting with the borough president. The borough president, again, think about these key terms that represent their roles and responsibilities. They must be consulted by the mayor and the city council on any budget item that affects their borough. They get to propose expenditures and legislation for their borough. They get to allocate discretionary spending, thinking specifically about things like participatory budgeting, for example, where they get to allocate money based on projects that the residents of their borough might want. They get to review all land use decisions. So this is really important, especially when you think about things like development projects and affordable housing. They have to coordinate citizen complaints. So if there's a particular issue in the borough that the citizens are complaining about, the borough president has to coordinate the response to those complaints. The borough president also chairs a board of council and community board members. And of course, the community board is a part of, it's a volunteer group, but they're a part of the advisory to the borough president and the city council. And of course, the borough presidents also have a website that you can go to. Here happens to be Brooklyn and Bronx. And you can look and see what they're up to. What are they doing? Are they fulfilling the responsibilities that you, as a resident of that borough, think is appropriate and good? Then we have the city council. The city council, again, has certain roles and responsibilities that we can monitor and participate in, really, because we can reach out to them to express our opinion about what they're doing. So the city council must approve the budget that the mayor proposes and any land use decisions. The city council investigates any matter within its jurisdiction. They encourage participation in activities like participatory budgeting that I just mentioned. They have to approve all agency heads, and they also need to assist us, their constituents. So if you have a particular concern, you can reach out to your city council member and get their help. And it could be anything from an issue in your neighborhood. Maybe there's a problem with a street light. Maybe there's a problem with potholes. You could reach out to your city council person and they can help you navigate what you need to do to correct the problem. They're all part of the council's website. So you can look at your city council's website and you can find out what legislation are they promoting? What committees are they serving on? What are they doing to help your community get the services that it needs to have your community be the kind of community that you want to live in? Then we have the district attorney, which is, as I mentioned, an elected position in New York. They are the chief law enforcement officer in their borough, and they work on issues that they consider to be important. So, for example, the district attorney might have a particular interest in criminal justice reform. The district attorney might have a particular interest in community partnerships. They might be concerned about sexual violence in the community. They might be concerned about gun violence. So the district attorneys have that choice of what they want to focus on. And again, this would be part of our role and responsibility as residents to let them know what we care about. If we have concerns in the community about things such as gun violence or criminal justice reform or sexual violence in our communities, we can reach out to them and express that concern that this is something that we would like to see them focus their attention on. And again, all of them have a website where you can go see what they're focusing on, see what they're looking at, and again, you can reach out and express your concerns to them about what you're seeing. Beyond the roles and responsibilities of all of these elected officials that we've talked about, there are also limits to the power of these elected officials. And some of these limits of power come from, as I mentioned earlier, term limits, where they can only serve 2 4-year terms. But there's also limitations to their power based upon our other levels of government. So, for example, the federal government limits the power of our city because there are certain programs that are obviously funded by the federal government. So, for example, social welfare programs that are funded federally, housing programs, many of which are federally funded. A lot of education funding is federal funding, which leads me to remind everybody that every 10 years we have a census, and the census counts all New Yorkers, and money, federal money, is distributed to local governments based on population. So that's why participation in the 10-year census is so important, because our federal allocation of funds to support things like social welfare programs, housing programs, and many education programs is based on population. Another limit, of course, is New York State. New York State controls a lot of money also, and also controls many of our agencies. So, for example, we pay New York State taxes. New York State allows us to borrow money to do some of the programming we need to do. Many of our laws are state law that New York City has to abide by. New York City Transit, the MTA, is a state agency and is controlled by the state. Civil service is controlled by the state. Again, many housing projects in New York are controlled by the state. And education, our schools are actually a state agency. So again, the power that we have here in New York City, we need to understand that we need to sometimes reach out to our elected officials at the state level and, of course, at the federal level to make sure that our concerns are heard, that these are the things that we want in our community. And that might mean the state getting involved to allow those things to happen here in New York City. Another limitation to the power of elected officials in New York are some of our quasi-independent agencies. So, for example, NYCHA has a certain amount of power because it operates in a semi-independent way. The Housing Development Corporation, New York City Health Plus Hospitals, these agencies have a certain amount of power on their own that limit the power of our elected officials. But again, we need to continue to reach out and express our feelings about what's happening and what we need to do, what we want them to do. So our rights and responsibilities are granted to us by the Constitution and by the Bill of Rights and by the New York State Constitution and by the New York City Charter, where all of these roles and responsibilities are outlined. All of these documents ensure that we can engage, we as residents can engage in this political process, beginning with our most basic right, and that is the right to vote, which is not only a right, but a responsibility. When you think about what we've just talked about with who makes New York City run, we have a role in all of this. The only reason these elected officials are in their positions is because we put them there. We elect them. And our voices need to be heard here in New York City so that when we elect somebody to a particular role and responsibility in the city, they understand what our needs are and what we need them to do. So use your time to reach out to them. Use mygovnyc.org. Reach out to your elected officials and express to them how you feel and what you want them to do. And after the election, we'll talk about in a minute, after the election, reach out again. Here are the concerns that we have to your newly elected officials, and make sure that they hear you loud and clear. Now that leads us to a conversation about this upcoming election. First of all, the election, the polls open this coming Saturday, October 25th, early voting begins. That's also the last day somebody can register to vote. So somebody could decide they are not registered and they want to vote this election. They can go to their poll site and they'll be able to register to vote and vote using an affidavit ballot. Early voting runs from this coming Saturday, October 25th, through Sunday, November 2nd. The polls will be closed on Monday, November 3rd, and then reopen on traditional election day, Tuesday, November 4th. You can go to vote.nyc, which is the City Board of Elections, to find out where your poll site is, who's on your ballot, what are the hours of the poll site, and use that information to help other people vote. Make sure you have your voting action plan in place so you know where to vote, when to vote, how to make your voting decisions so that you can really use your voice and participate in this really important process. Now, in addition to all of the positions that we've just talked about, we're also going to have 6 ballot proposals this election cycle. And the first thing to remember is that the ballot proposals are on the back of the ballot. So you need to flip your ballot, look on the back of the ballot for these proposals. And I'd like to just very quickly go through what these proposals are so you could look at them. If you go to our website, the League of Women Voters of the City of New York, we have on our website all the information that you'll need, lwvnyc.org, all the information you're going to need to make good decisions. We offer you the pros and cons, and we also offer you that there are some of these that we have taken a position on, and on our website, you'll see why we've taken those positions. But basically, here are the proposals. Proposal number 1 is actually the only statewide ballot proposal this year. So everyone in New York State will get to vote on this issue. And it is an amendment to the Constitution of New York State that will allow Olympic Sports Complex to be built in Essex County on state forest preserve land. So that will be a statewide ballot proposal. The second ballot proposal is New York City only, and it is a ballot proposal in regard to affordable housing. And what it is proposing is that it will fast track affordable housing to build more affordable housing across New York City. Proposal number 3 also relates to affordable housing, and it's also only New York City. And its mission is to simplify the review of modest housing and infrastructure projects. So ballot proposal number 2 has to do with larger projects, larger buildings. Ballot proposal 3 is a review of modest housing and infrastructure. So maybe it would be like a single apartment attached to a house, something like that. And it would, again, simplify the review process. Ballot proposal 4, again, another New York City only proposal, will establish an affordable housing appeals board that would include the city council, the borough, and citywide representation. So again, that goes back to the elected officials that we've discussed earlier this evening. Ballot proposal number 5 is again another New York City only proposal. And what it will do is create a digital city map to modernize city operations. Presently, the maps in New York City are only paper. This will give the city the opportunity to modernize and create a digital city map that will allow city operations to modernize. The last proposal, proposal number 6, is again New York City only, and it proposes aligning municipal elections with the federal cycle. In other words, instead of having elections like we're having this year, in an odd year, 2025, all municipal elections will be moved to even years, which are presidential years or years of federal election of like senators and state assembly, national representatives, House of Representatives, and the Senate, and to align with those cycles in order to streamline our election process so people can have the opportunity to come and vote for more than just a municipal election. So those are the 6 proposals. Look them up, look at our website, lwvnyc.org, and make your voting decisions. How do you feel about these? And again, look at the pros and cons, make your decision how you would like to vote on these issues. But remind everybody, flip the ballot. These are on the back. So the League of Women Voters really encourages you to participate in this process and also to join us. Democracy is not a spectator sport. We all have to be involved. The League welcomes your membership with us, and you can join us by going again to our website, lwvnyc.org, and let your voice be heard. I'd like to just close with a quote from Thomas Jefferson, who said, "We do not have government by the majority. We have government by the majority who participate." And that is our role and responsibility, to participate in this process so our voices are heard and so that our city can be the city that we want it to be. So again, remember, polls open this Saturday. Check again at vote.nyc to find out where your poll site is and what the hours of operation are through early voting. On Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th, the polls are always open, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., but make sure you find your correct poll site. If you have any questions at all, if you want to put them into the chat, I would love to answer them. You can reach out to us at lwvnyc.org. You can call our office and we would be happy to help. Stay active, use your voice, be heard. Thank you all so much.